Hello YouTuber and welcome to my video. This is going to be a video response to a very angry person who has made a video disproving God.
So what is my beef with all you Christians today? I'm fucking sick of you. All you Christians know how to do is ask and pray and ask and pray and drive me fucking nuts.
And that was the same so-called rationalist in another video. Now a little about this angry atheist. All you have to do is just look at a map of the earth and ask ourselves, where did our modern civilization and our modern science emerge? If the answer is the Christian Europe, which should not be very difficult by the way, we should also ask ourselves on what these angry people are actually angry about. Of course, someone could object to that by pointing to the technological achievements of the Song dynasty or to the inventions of Hieron of Alexandria, but still, those have almost no influence of our modern civilization. I think my question will remain, why these angry people are even angry?
Illuminati, you've come to take control. You can take my heartbeat, but you can break my soul. We all shall be free.
And now a few words about this video. Apparently Christina has prepared intensely for this video. For example, let's just look at her look. So in order to actually make this video, Christina is using a definition of God. At the end of the same video, she does not forget to offend and humiliate all the people who do not accept her proposed definition.
But it just doesn't make much sense, does it? That's not fucking Batman, who are you kidding? That's a Barbie doll with a fucking cape on. Motherfucker. Open discussion! Okay,
so she definitely succeeded to offend me. I did not understand why she had to bring our mothers into this, but whatever. Atheist morality or something. Also, she has deeply studied Wikipedia for all the possible arguments that could support her predetermined position.
This argument is known as the Omnipotence Paradox and you've probably heard of it. Can God create a rock so heavy that even he cannot lift? If he cannot create such a rock, then he's not all-powerful. If he can create it, that means he cannot lift it. And that means he's not all-powerful.
And now, just a little summary of what this video is all about.
Fucking rage rant, fucking tree, fucking garden, fucking evil motherfucker. Fucking little fuck. Fuck. The fucking cape, motherfucker. Fuck. So you often hear religious people ask non-believers to prove to them that there is no God.
Actually, that is called common sense. I mean, if someone would come to an atheist and say that the earth is 6,000 years old, or that we should vote for a particular party, the atheist would jump with the arguments right away. But when it comes to God, they have a whole special pedigree and they always choose the lack of belief card.
And the most common reaction to this is to roll your eyes, facepalm yourself, and then enlighten them about how you cannot prove a negative and...
Yeah, I know all that, but who said you cannot prove a negative? All you have to do is just show that it's self-contradictory. You know, something as a cubic sphere.
And there's no need for you to do that because the burden of proof lies with the person making the claim and...
Yeah, right, and by being a militant atheist and proclaiming yourself bright and everyone else retard, you are not suggesting any claims, alright?
So just to keep things interesting, from now on when somebody asks me to prove that there is no God, I'm actually gonna try to do it. You see, to prove something means to demonstrate your assertions are true.
Brilliant, and I anticipate that we are going to use only her definitions chosen to fail.
By evidence or by argument. In this case, of course, you cannot use scientific evidence because God is, you know, a pile of imaginary donkey balls. So that leaves us with the arguments, and in the case of God I take it as a simple 3-steps process. Step 1, ask them to define God. What do they mean by God?
For me, I would go with the Nicaea Creed. definition.
Step 2. Ask them why they believe it exists.
Too long would be like a lifelong story. Basically for me it all started with the study of human history. I will try to put a link below or something.
And then you can proceed to step 3, which is using common fucking sense.
And of course something that we are not going to see in this video.
Very complicated stuff. Now, since most people argue for the existence of a personal monotheistic God, the creator of the universe, who's all-powerful, all-knowing and all-good.
Most questions, yup. And of course these atheists did not cite any statistics, so we are going to look to the scriptures and see how God defined himself. My first reference comes from Exodus 3:14, where God said, I am that I am, or in Hebrew, Ehir, Aser, Ehir, or in the Greek Septuagint, I am who is. My second reference, and the last, is the statement, I am the Alpha and the Omega, verset 1, 8, 22, 6, and 22:13 from the book of Apocalypse or Revelation, and from some Bibles also Revelation 1:11. Also, it is very common in the Orthodox art, and we can find it from very early in the Christian tradition.
Now, in order to prove that this type of God cannot exist, all you have to do is demonstrate that its given attributes cannot exist, or at least cannot exist at the same time.
I need to take a few moments to explain and expose this Roman fallacy. The human language could never describe the complexity of God. Still, Western theologians have tried as well as they could to describe its attributes. So this is how we wish today to have these multiple omnia: omnipotence, omnipresence, omnibenevolence, omniscience, and probably a few others. Still, none of this should be taken as undisputable truths found in the scriptures.
Who's all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good.
I personally find it very silly to dress up the divinity with all those worldly concepts. St. Augustine, it is said, that also tried to define God, and as he was thinking how to describe God better in human words, as he was walking on the beach, he saw a small boy that just dug a little pit in the sand, and this boy was bringing water from the sea with a spoon to this little pit. When St. Augustine asked him what he was doing, he answered that he wants to move the sea into this little pit. So all these definitions are in the way the same. They are trying to describe what is undescribable. But if we want still, for the sake of argument, to use a definition for God, we should not create long and complex definitions. Let's just remember the KISS principle, or at least the famous Occam razor, very popular among atheists. Therefore, to keep it very simple, God could be described as being just omniscient. Omniscience, for example, includes wisdom, so a being that has all the wisdom in the universe could not possibly be evil. Omniscience also includes omnipotence, because an omniscient being could not know how to do something, or at least how to become omnipotent if he desires so, and so on.
The all-powerful part has been demolished like centuries ago when it was shown to be logically not possible. This argument is known as the Omnipotence Paradox, and you've probably heard of it. Can God create a rock so heavy that even he cannot lift? If he cannot create such a rock, then he's not all-powerful. If he can create it, that means he cannot lift it. And that means he's not all-powerful. So the very concept of omnipotence is, like I said, a logical impossibility.
I personally never heard a priest to define God like this. I guess that everybody knows that God could never do things contrary to his nature. For example, God could never lie, break a promise, or create a morally free person, as Christina, that would also be conditioned to always choose him over Satan. But in the case of Christina, if we do not agree with the definition that she has prepared for us,
Motherfucker.
You may wonder why I do not agree with that definition, and this is because in this definition God is put to compete with himself for the atheist amusement. Basically, the atheists choose this particular definition of God with their own definition of omnipotence attached. So my dear brothers and sisters, this has nothing to do with what you believe.
What do they mean by God?
This is simply a philosophical riddle, and this is why we, the Christians on YouTube, are not taking the atheists seriously, because they are too simplistic.
Motherfucker.
Now just a few words about this philosophical riddle. No being can compete in this way with itself. Basically, the riddle is asking, can A do something that A cannot do? Can Christina run so fast that not even Christina could catch her? Can Christina do something that not even Christina can do? From a philosophical point of view, we have two problems. First, in this riddle, God is treated not as one being but as two beings in competition with each other.
Can God win a bet against himself?
Can God's power defeat his own power?
Can God do something he can't do?
In order to resolve this problem, the subject in question should stop being itself. So basically God should stop being God and accept to be defeated by itself as God, only to resolve this problem. So it is a fake problem because no one could really stop being itself.
I'm not gonna linger on it. Many have tried to reason out of this. All of them failed.
The lifting of a rock paradox uses human characteristics. And here we should not forget that God became man, and he was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate, and he suffered, and he was buried, and on the third day he rose again according to the scriptures. So I guess the real problem here is, can God make the impossible become possible? And the answer is, yes he can. I mean, he is God. The scriptures tell us that one person of the Trinity became man, and they beat him and they put him to carry a cross which was too heavy for him to lift. So what Jesus said in the scriptures, that he is doing only his Father's will, becomes clear only after the resurrection, when Jesus said, all power is given to me in heaven and in earth. So God became man and conditioned himself to live and die as a human in order to achieve his purpose, that is our salvation. So God as a human could not lift the very stones that he created. So this is why when I hear the God paradox, the first picture that comes to my mind is the rock on the Christ tomb. A rock that even if God could lift, he could not, because that would mean to fail in his salvation plan, and God could never fail. The answer to the God paradox is the rock on the Christ tomb, a rock that God could not lift for 3 days. So at this point, the only way to actually answer to such a paradox is to create a better paradox, and this is what I actually attempted to do. Also, we do not have to forget that we are speaking about a Trinity. So if Jesus was conditioned by himself to have here on earth a normal human life, the other two persons of the Trinity were not, and they were able to do anything. So while Jesus here on earth could not lift a heavy cross, that would be no problem for the other two persons of the Trinity. So what we should remember about this paradox is that this thesis is not justified by the study of the Bible with the chosen definition of omnipotence and so on. True, if we're going to analyze this problem rationally, we're going to see that it's a ridiculous problem because no being could compete with itself. And 3, in the case of God, the apparent impossible becomes possible, and we have two options, the option of the Holy Trinity and the option of the rock from the Jesus tomb. Now let's see if this atheist had better luck with her second question.
Now, as far as God being all-knowing,
unfortunately, this week I have a copyright claim disputation on my channel, so I could not upload longer videos. So I'm going to make a video for each one of these God attributes objections. My second video of this series is going to be on atheist objection to omniscience.
now as far as God being all-knowing,